Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'll get back to your phone calls and emails shortly at 866-HEY-LARS. That's 866-439-5277. Emails go to talk@larslarson.com. If you watch what has happened over in America over the last several decades, there's been a concerted effort, and it is a partisan effort, on the part of Democrats and liberals to expand the so-called rights of illegal aliens. And at the same time, by many of us on the other side saying, no, you don't have those rights, and we need to protect our national sovereignty. If people want to come to America, we allow more than 1 million legal immigrants to this country every year. But unfortunately, the Democrats see that group of illegal aliens entering the United States as a potential group of voters that they can put to work and a dependent class that they can use for political purposes. There is a new example of this, and to talk about it, Christopher Hajec, who is Director of Litigation for the Immigration Reform Law Institute, joins me now to talk about a Supreme Court case that's going on. Christopher, good to have you back on the program.
Thank you, Lars.
Tell me about what a bivens action is. Is there a simple way to explain that to non-lawyers like me?
Yeah, it's an action the Supreme Court invented, a kind of lawsuit that they created in 1971, where if a federal officer does something to you, and you can come up with an argument that it violates the Constitution through some idea of substantive due process or something like that, then you can sue that federal officer and get damages from him personally.
Okay, and in this case, this involves a non-citizen who is trying to enter the United States, and the immigration officer who is trying to stop that person, if I understand the details of the case right, was knocked aside by the immigration officer and may have suffered some injury, and so wants to bring a bivens action. Is that the gist of it?
Right, and before the court is the issue whether to extend bivens, which they never extend bivens. It was probably wrongly decided. They probably think it was, and they don't extend it much. But whether they should extend it into the immigration context. And we wrote a brief and filed it with the court arguing that shouldn't happen. And basically the idea is, the Constitution doesn't put limits on what we as a nation can do with respect to, in how we deal with the rest of the world. How we act vis-a-vis the rest of the world is up to us as a nation. It's not limited in the Constitution. And immigration is an example of how we deal with the rest of the world.
Sure, because it's pointed out time and again that while we have immigration laws that allow people to enter the country, there is no constitutional right for anybody who's a foreign national to say, I want to enter your country, you have to respect my constitutional rights. You don't have any constitutional rights till you get here, right?
Right, and even if you get here and you're still under official restraint, the term is, you haven't entered the country in a legal sense, so you don't have any constitutional rights or any more than you would if you were not even in the country. And that's another reason not to extend it here, because if a border officer has done something to you and you want to sue over it, that means that you've been under official restraint by that border officer. So you haven't entered the country yet, and you don't have the constitutional rights that are the basis of a bivens action.
And so just so everybody knows, the person who was blocking the border agent is an American citizen, but he was trying to block the border agent from doing what the border agent is legally empowered to do. How bad were the injuries, just so everybody understands?
It's unclear, but they didn't seem to be that severe.
Okay, so a border agent
he was knocked over by the agent.
Probably got his feelings hurt more than his body. So in this case, if the court were to say, yes, you can go down and block border agents and they have no right to push you out of the way, then effectively you could say, well, if we want to get a bunch of people across the border legally, we just get a bunch of American citizens who are pro-illegal alien to go down there and get in the way of border agents, and the border agents can't do anything about it. Basically a human shield or set of human shields.
Right. There'd be all kinds of mischief that could be done. Yes.
So why is this person is saying this officer had no right to put his hands on me and push me back? That's what this comes down to, and this is going to the U.S. Supreme Court?
Well, the issue is, again, it's sovereignty, whether we should have these kinds of actions at all in the border context, and we shouldn't because the Constitution doesn't have any limits there. I mean, it says that aliens only have the rights that Congress might give them in the law, and that's it. And because these aliens have not, if they're illegal aliens bringing these suits, they don't have the constitutional rights that form the basis of these suits.
Is the lawsuit being brought by the American citizen who tried to block the border agent, or is it being brought by the illegal alien who's trying to get across the line?
It was brought by the American citizen. So but the issue comes up. If the vast majority of these cases would involve illegal aliens, and they would, and they can't sue under bivens, they shouldn't be extending it at all. For one thing, the border agents can't even tell the difference. I mean, it's not clear at all that the agent knew that the person he pushed out of the way was an American citizen.
So tell me this, Christopher, from a legal standpoint, since you're the director of litigation at Immigration Reform Law Institute, I would assume, I think I know the law well enough, that if I showed up at a regular crime scene anywhere in America and a police officer was engaged in his or her own, proper duties in dealing with that crime scene, if I get in the way of that officer, I'm guilty of a crime, aren't I?
Yes, most likely. I mean, if you're intentionally blocking an officer, that would be an offense of one kind or another, something like obstruction of justice.
Yeah, obstruction of justice. So if the court were to say yes in this case, is this court, as it's composed right now, is it likely to say yes to the idea of opening up bivens actions not only to American citizens who want to get in the way of immigration agents, but also illegal aliens who might say, gee, that officer grabbed me by the arm and he had no right to touch me because I have constitutional rights. Is that what they're asking the court to do as a remedy?
Something like that. And I don't think that the court will do that. That's what the Ninth Circuit did. And
the circus,
the district court had dismissed the case, and then the Ninth Circuit reversed.
Well, that's what they do, isn't it? That's why I call them the Ninth Circus Court, because they're the most overturned court in America.
Right. It's changing somewhat. Under Trump, they appointed a lot of new judges, and the en banc court can be good. But there are so many judges there, and there's still a great many panels who will do things like this, and 3-judge panels, and the Supreme Court has to step in. I guess this is another case where, hopefully that's what they're going to do.
You would think that at some point the Ninth Circus Court, I mean, even with the new members, and I watched that too because I saw a lot of the appointments and thought, well, this is going to improve the court, but it may not change the level of crazy. Maybe it'll just reduce the level of crazy that we get from the Ninth Circus Court, but it probably won't eliminate it altogether. So we're hoping that the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because there's so many judges. There's you can still get 2 on a 3-judge panel that are will do something way out of line.
And then the Supreme Court, maybe the Supreme Court should have one whole section of the 9 that say, you deal with the Ninth Circuit Court. Just keep knocking them back in their place because they don't seem to get the message. I would think that if I were sitting on that court, you'd say no matter what your politics are, if you keep getting reversed by the boss, and the ultimate boss in courts is the U.S. Supreme Court, at some point maybe you'd get the message and reform your behavior. That's Christopher Hajec, who's director of litigation for the Immigration Reform Law Institute. When we come back, I'll get to your phone calls and your emails at 866-HEY-LARS. You're listening to The Lars Larson Show and the Radio Northwest Network.